Thank you, everyone, for joining me today on my talk on embracing transformational technology, a hospitality case study. And thank you for the Radisson Hotel, obviously, for hosting us today. This is my first time at the Radisson, and it's a beautiful property. So thank you. So some key stats about the hospitality industry. I always like to start off my presentations with some key stats. So there's over 187 hotels, 187,000 hotels worldwide. And there's about 17.5 million rooms available on a nightly basis worldwide. Just to give you an idea, New York City, for example, has about 125,000 room nights available per night. So supply is growing, demand is growing, which is a great thing for the hospitality industry. Um, the hospitality industry is worth over $4.5 trillion. And just to give you an idea, that's before COVID, that number was at $9 trillion. So we still got a long ways to go to get back to that $9 trillion number. Um, the hospitality industry also employs about 1.6 million employees. Obviously, during COVID, there was a lot of challenges in finding employment, but that is increasing as we speak. And just to give you an idea, post-COVID, the average U.S. occupancy, in the U.S., occupancy rates in the U.S. is about 66% almost, which is good. Pre-COVID, the number was almost 70%. So the future looks good on the hospitality side, which is great. I'm going to talk a little bit about, what happened during COVID and the impact it had on the hospitality industry. The first impact was obviously occupancy rates. A lot of hotels had to close down due to social distancing, and travel pretty much came to a halt. Just to give you an idea, that 66% occupancy number went all the way down to about 19% during peak time during COVID. Revenues also went down, right? When we're not selling rooms, that means people aren't paying to stay at hotels, and revenue took a huge hit for the hospitality industry. It's kind of tough seeing the slides from here. Huh? And behavior. So in terms of consumer behavior, a lot of the events like the one we're having today no longer existed, right? Group gatherings and travel just came to a complete halt, unfortunately. On the other side, hotels also had to put in place safety measures. So in terms of social distancing, the cleanliness of the rooms, at a certain point, we couldn't sell a room until it sat empty for 24 hours. So what happens at that point? A lot of hotels, management companies, ownership groups said, we need to figure out more efficient ways to run each hotel. And through efficiency, they had to invest in technology, right? They needed a property management system, right? And the property management system, that's where all your reservations sit. A central reservation system, which is how you distribute your inventory to third parties, right? So sometimes when you go to book your vacation, you're shopping on Expedia, Booking.com, Agoda, Hotel Tonight, right? Those all need to be connected to the property management system. They also invested in revenue management systems, right? To have someone overlooking the revenue management, the pricing strategies for these hotels. It was extremely important to have a robust system to implement dynamic pricing, which I'll go into detail about in my later slides, and a guest management system, right? Hotels that understood their clients and their guests were the ones that were going to be successful post-COVID, right? So there's been a lot of data collection that took place during, post-COVID, and hotels were figuring out better ways to manage all that data and to customize the actual offerings, right, through marketing promotions, et cetera. What must a hotel technology stack have, right? So when ownership groups sat down, these were the key factors that they looked at, right? How do we create operational efficiency, right? A hotel technology stacks automates and integrates various operational processes such as reservations, check-in process, housekeeping, inventory management, and billing. So this streamlines the workflow and manual errors, which is extremely important. The second part was enhancing the guest experience, right? So that technology plays a vital role in delivering personalized and seamless experience from online mobile check-in. So I don't know if you guys have traveled recently, you could check in online through the mobile app. You could actually unlock your room using your mobile app. And it allows you to personalize the guest experience, right? Data-driven decision making. Data-driven decision making needs to be well implemented, and it generates valuable data. Hotels can leverage this data to understand guest preferences, track performance metrics, and make data-driven decisions to improve services and marketing strategies. And then revenue management. Revenue management, so we use a lot of revenue management in what we do in managing the rates of the hotels, manage the availability, and implement dynamic pricing. So a lot of times, to give you an example, if you're looking to go on, I was just looking to book a trip to the Bahamas, right? Rates were $400 a night. And, typically you could get them from $250, $300 a night, but there's strong demand right now in the Bahamas. So what ends up happening is you have a revenue manager that's sitting there adjusting prices based on demand, right? So you could blame us for that. So online process, online presence and distribution. So in today's digital age, this is extremely crucial for hotels. Historically, hotels, sold rooms. People walked in, they made a reservation, they stayed at the hotel. That was pre-internet, right? Now, having the proper distribution includes having a robust website, great channel management, and online booking engines that help you cast a wide net to maximize bookings. Security and compliance. The hotel industry deals with sensitive guest data and financial transactions. Secure compliant technology stack ensures that that data is protected, right? So PCI compliance, we take that very seriously, and we want to make sure all the guest data is protected. Guest communication. So hotels could use technology to facilitate better communication with guests, provide instant support, and offer self-service options, and that helps reduce the workload on the hotel staff. So you'll notice now, a lot of times, back in the day, you needed to pick up your phone to change your reservation or make an update to your reservation. Now you could pick up your phone, talk to a chatbot, and the chatbot, changes your reservation if you needed it, amends it, cancels it if needed, all without talking to a human on the other end of the line. Integration and scalability. So this is a big thing in the hospitality industry. A lot of PMS providers, property management systems, offer an API, an open API, where you could plug in and connect into their tech stack. And again, this is crucial because it ensures smooth data flows and allows hotels to scale their operations without disrupting the process. And then cost saving. Obviously, when you implement a technology stack, there's money that's saved, right, in terms of creating efficiencies. And the most important one is a competitive advantage, right? Hotels that are up to date with their technology are the ones that are going to be most successful. So here are some, trends that we're seeing in at hotels. Mobile check-in, right? Right now, you could download the app for a specific hotel, load up your driver's license, your credit card information, and you're able to check in. A good example is the Citizen M Hotel. That's a hotel in New York City. The check-in process literally is 2 minutes, and the checkout process is 30 seconds. Virtual and augmented reality. So this is a big thing. Previously, content is king in the hospitality industry, and you want to make sure virtual reality is becoming bigger and bigger. I tried it out actually when I was in London. It literally transformed me to Greece, right, at the property, and you could actually walk through the property through virtual reality. So I expect that in the next, 1 or 2 years to grow. Predictive analytics. So a lot of hotels in the industry, we look at data and we take data very seriously in terms of optimizing the rates and, most importantly, maximizing profits for each hotel. Chatbots and virtual assistants. In the beginning, I absolutely hated chatbots. I want to talk to a live person. But it's amazing how advanced they've gotten with communication with chatbots. They're saying in the next 2 to 4 years, you won't be able to tell the difference between a chatbot and an actual human being. So this obviously creates efficiencies. It eliminates call centers, and it enhances the guest experience. Dynamic pricing. So this is very big in our industry, right? Everything is about selling the right room to the right guest at the right time at the right price. So some guests may pay $300 for a night in the Bahamas, or some guests might pay $150. It depends on seasonality. It also depends on how big the hotel is, right? Is it 100 rooms? Is it 200 rooms, right? That all gets taken into consideration. Quick question for the audience. Does anyone know the largest hotel in the world is located in what country? I'm sorry? Dubai? Abu Dhabi? No? Anyone else? It's actually, anyone else? One more guess. Absolutely, absolutely not. Las Vegas? No, but it's actually Malaysia. Hotel has over 7,000 rooms. So, and I think it has something like 50 pools. So, with that being said, it's going to be dethroned later this year because there is a hotel in Saudi Arabia that's going to open up that's 10,000 rooms. So, it's huge and over 70 restaurants. So, personalization and customer experience. So, a lot of hotels are trying to do this, but it's difficult, and the ones that execute it right are the ones that are seeing loyalty in terms of return guests, personalizing the emails, and knowing what the guest preferences are. We have data that we collect that we could tell you, are you a business traveler? Do you travel with family? Do you prefer rooms with two beds or one bed? Do you like breakfast included? When's your birthday? When's your anniversary, right? So hotels that are collecting those data and are utilizing it are the ones that are going to be successful moving forward. So in conclusion, tech stack is extremely important for in the hotel industry, and hotels that took the time during COVID to implement up to date technology are the ones that are going to be successful moving forward, and they're also going to be the ones that um, end up maximizing revenues, right? So I'd like to open the floor now to questions.
So I come from an insurance background and, an aggregator, you put your information in once and you're able to get many quotes from different insurance companies. And what they had done over time is they have a API that's common. So I'm wondering if you think about Booking.com, Priceline, have they zoned in on a particular common API, or is the integration for each of those different?
The integration for everyone is different because at the end of the day, Booking.com, Expedia, they're competitors. It's not the same company. So in terms of property management system, POS systems, guest management systems, right? They reach out to those specific third parties, and they open their APIs to them, right? So the more a technology stack allows you to connect to a vendor, that's taken into consideration when we're looking at tech stacks and making decisions, right? Do you have an open API? Can I connect with this specific vendor? Because I want to make sure the tech stack that we implement in a specific hotel makes sense, right? For a 50-room property in Scranton, it's not going to be the same tech stack as Midtown New York City, right? It's a different property management system, different POS system, et cetera.
How does Airbnb, Vrbo, all of that play into how these hotels are investing in all this technology?
Sure. So Airbnb is gaining a lot of momentum, and the guest experience differs, right? There's people that love staying in Airbnbs because it's private, you're by yourself, and there's other people that like the interaction that you have at a hotel, right? But Airbnb has become a huge competitor to the hospitality industry, and when we look at rates and availability, we're not just looking at hotel rates, right? We're looking, what's a two-bedroom selling at in Marco Island, right? Like we have a client in Marco Island, and we want to make sure his pricing. There's a lot of Airbnbs, right? But there's very limited hotel inventory. So we're always looking at Airbnb pricing, we're looking at hotel pricing, and we know, certain guests specifically want an Airbnb, right? So we want to make sure we're capturing the demand for the hotel guests and making sure our rates are competitive.
I'm curious, what kind of technology is integrated into, what kind of technology related to machine learning and data science is integrated in your tech stack?
Sure. So when we look in our tech stack, again, each client is different depending on the tech stack they have. There's a million different property management systems. There's a million different POS systems, right? But what we do is we pull the data out of the actual PMS, right? And we look about 24 data points with our algorithm. Basically, we're looking at historical data, seasonality, competitive pricing, and obviously that algorithm is proprietary to us, and it gets better with time, right? The longer we have a client on the system, the the better we know, and we can better forecast occupancy rates, average daily rates, and performance.
Is there a technology stack to have competitors know availability and rates? I had to book some rooms for people in Scranton, North Dixon City, and we called the hotel, and they're like, there's no availability here, but there's availability at like a different hotel. And it seems like, so when I went in there or when I engaged in conversation, they actually said, every morning or afternoon they call the competitive.
Yeah, we call that call arounds. So everyone lies, to be honest. So, when you used to call my hotel, hey Abe, what's your hotel at today? Oh, I'm at 95%. When I'm really at 60%, right? So, call arounds is an old school of doing things, and hotels still do it, believe it or not. But we could get that data just by going online. If you're not showing availability online, you might have a group that's at your hotel. There's something going on, but yeah, a lot of times you won't. They lie. So, yes.
Hi, Abe. Mark Gallagher. Just a quick question from a banking perspective. Certainly, COVID wound up hitting hospitality industry very hard, and we're seeing that sector as sort of lagging, bringing people back into the employment, in the hospitality industry. Are you seeing a rush of the technology stack to overcome maybe the lack of rehiring? And what are you seeing that do with the customer experience when, obviously people stay at a hotel for that interaction and so on? If you could speak to that a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. So hotels post-COVID have pivoted greatly, right? They realized they needed to create efficiencies to maximize profits, right? When you're an ownership group or you're an owner of a hotel, you're looking at your P&L and you're like, I'm not making any money, right? So you have to cut costs, right? And the biggest hit in hospitality was housekeeping, right? Housekeepers, it was tough to find housekeepers. And so what hotels started doing is saying, okay, I'm in a market that's 60% occupancy. I don't need to sell every room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in what we call in the hospitality industry, hang rooms, right? Someone checks out, I leave the room until I have staff to clean it, right? So they became very creative in terms of the operation, and then realized, you know what? Well, why don't I outsource housekeeping, right? Why am I hiring, right? Let's get a company that specializes in outsourced housekeeping, and they'll clean the rooms. So they looked for outsourcing options, but more importantly, a specific tech stack. A tech stack could tell me, my property management system, if a room is clean, dirty, inspected, right? So again, it's creating efficiency in terms of the labor. So yeah, so there's been huge shifts in that regards.
Do you use technology to evaluate the survey data that's received? I mean, I've completed many surveys. I've never received a response. I've gone back to the hotels. Things haven't changed. So I just wondered, do they ever utilize the data?
Yes, so I wouldn't stay at the hotel you're going to if they're not utilizing the data. So that data is actually looked at very carefully for hotels that are doing it right, right? And they take reviews very seriously. So my first piece of advice for you, if you search a hotel on TripAdvisor and you realize management's not responding to good and bad reviews, chances are they're not taking the guest experience very seriously. So the first thing I do is I always look at TripAdvisor, I always read the comments to make sure that this specific hotel is taking the guest experience very seriously, so.
Outside of the hotel industry, what are other industries that you look at that you say, that as you look at them, you think, wow, they could benefit from this type of approach?
So the hotel industry, unfortunately, is always behind every other industry, right? So that's one thing, the industry has always been fragmented in terms of systems. There's legacy systems out there that I still can't believe people are using. And these are very successful hotels. They haven't updated their tech stack. But in terms of other industries, what we learn from is the airlines, right? The airlines have been doing it forever, right? If you notice now, ancillary revenue is becoming huge in the airlines, right? You now can't pick a seat, right? You got to pay an extra $50 because you're getting an aisle seat, or it's called a preferred seat, right? I just made a booking on United, right? And I'm like, why are you charging me $50 more for an aisle seat, right? So they've become very creative in maximizing the ancillary revenue, and I think the hospitality industry still got ways to go. They're finding other ways to charge a guest, but it's really upsetting the guests, right? Like, why am I paying a $75 facility fee or resort fee in Las Vegas, right? They get you with the $150 rate, and then you're paying $75 in facility fee. So, okay, I think that's all the time we have for questions. Thank you guys so much for your time.